Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Sergeant Jonah Hale had exactly 42 minutes before deployment. 42 minutes to finish packing, check his equipment, and pretend his stomach was not tight with the familiar mix of nerves and expectation. He had learned long ago that fear never really went away. It just learned how to sit quietly in the background while training took over. The military station Iron Reach rotated slowly above the border world of Lottie's Prime, its massive structure humming with constant mechanical life. The air smelled recycled and clean, but Jonah knew better. Stations like this were always full of rumors, whispered half-truths that traveled faster than official orders ever did. By the time command actually explained a mission, every soldier already believed 3 different versions of it. Jonah tightened the straps on his duffel and glanced at the open locker in front of him. Everything inside was regulation standard: armor components, tools, medical kit, rations that tasted like cardboard no matter how much flavoring science claimed they added. He pulled out a protein bar, stared at it, then tossed it onto the growing pile on his bunk. Iron Reach was a joint station. Humans and the Velari shared it in an uneasy peace that had lasted only 7 years. Before that, there had been war. A bad one. Short, violent, and full of losses neither side liked to talk about. The Velari looked close enough to human to make people uncomfortable. 2 arms, 2 legs, same general shape. But everything about them felt sharper. Too smooth. Too precise. Their skin carried faint metallic tones, their eyes reflected light like polished glass, and their long, swept-back ears made them look like something pulled from old human fantasy stories. Jonah respected them. He did not fully trust them. He had fought beside Velari units once, years ago, and learned that when things went bad, they were disciplined and deadly. Still, peace was young, and peace between former enemies was always fragile. His quarters were small but functional: a wall-mounted bunk, a metal desk with a data terminal, a faint scratch on the wall where someone before him had carved a message. "We made it back." Jonah didn't know who had written it. He never erased it. His combat armor stood in its charging frame nearby. The Mark IX engineer rig was heavier than standard infantry armor, reinforced for demolition work, structural breaches, and emergency construction under fire. Scratches and burn marks told its history better than any service record. The diagnostic display blinked green, then yellow. "Come on," Jonah muttered. Left knee actuator, 2% below optimal. He tapped the display and ignored it. If soldiers waited for perfect equipment, nothing would ever get done. His wrist comm chirped. Jonah sighed and accepted the call. "Hail Sergeant Jonah," he said. "This is station coordination," a calm voice replied. Too calm, too official. Jonah already didn't like where this was going. "Be advised, Sergeant. Your quarters are scheduled for an informal observation at 1800 hours. Jonah froze. "Observation," he repeated. "I deploy in 36 minutes. "Correct." He stared at the comm as if it might explain itself. "Observation by whom?" Jonah asked carefully. "Velari diplomatic personnel." Jonah let out a slow breath. "Is this a joke?" "Negative, you are not required to prepare. This is non-intrusive, observational only." "Observational of what?" Jonah asked. "Me folding socks." There was a pause. "Station coordination out." The channel closed. Jonah lowered his arm and stared at the wall for a long moment. Velari diplomats did not randomly observe human soldiers before deployment. That simply did not happen. Either someone had made a serious mistake, or something very strange was going on. Jonah checked the time again. 33 minutes. He shrugged. If someone wanted to watch him pack, that was their problem. He went back to work. He moved with practiced efficiency, muscle memory guiding each step, tools checked, charges secured, medkit sealed. He rolled socks into tight bundles and lined them neatly inside the bag. 3 pairs. Always 3. One to wear, one spare, one that disappeared for reasons no one understood. He was sealing the last compartment when the door chimed. Not the sharp buzz of standard access. A soft melodic tone instead. VIP clearance. Jonah straightened instantly. Enter, he said. The door slid open. Jonah expected a Velari officer, maybe a junior diplomat with a clipboard and a forced smile, someone who would look around, nod politely, and leave. That was not who stood in his doorway. The figure was taller than average, wrapped in flowing ceremonial robes woven with faint glowing threads. Her skin shimmered with pale silver-blue light, and her golden eyes seemed to reflect the room itself. Jonah's mind went blank. He knew exactly who she was. High Matriarch Salith of the Velari Union. The highest political authority of an entire species was standing in his quarters. Alone. Jonah snapped to attention so fast his boot clipped the floor. My lady, he said, defaulting to the most formal phrase he knew. She inclined her head slightly. Sergeant Jonah Hale, she said. Her voice was calm, musical, and controlled. I hope I am not interrupting. Jonah glanced at his half-packed bunk, the scattered gear, and his undershirt dusted with protein crumbs. No, he said honestly, just deploying. Yes, she replied, that is why I am here. She stepped inside, the door sealed quietly behind her. Jonah noticed immediately that she had no guards. That made him more nervous than if the room had been full of them. Station coordination informed me you would observe, Jonah said. I assumed. An error, Salith said smoothly, but sometimes errors reveal important truths. She looked around his quarters slowly, not judging, simply watching. May I observe? She asked. Jonah hesitated, then nodded. Permission granted, my lady. She moved to the side, standing near his desk, hands folded loosely. Jonah resumed packing, suddenly very aware of every movement he made. She watched him count equipment. Why do you arrange your tools in that order? She asked. Jonah blinked. Habit, he said. If something goes wrong, I don't want to think, I just reach. She considered that. You prepare for failure as much as success. Yes, Jonah said, failure happens more often. She nodded slightly. He rolled another pair of socks. 3, she observed. Is that a symbolic number? Jonah snorted before he could stop himself. No, my lady, it's practical. 1 pair vanishes no matter what. Her lips curved upward faintly. Entropy, she said. Jonah smiled despite himself. Exactly. Minutes pass like that, simple questions. Simple answers, no politics, no posturing. Then Jonah reached for his armor undersuit. Fair warning, he said, this part isn't very dignified. I do not require dignity, Salith replied, only truth. Jonah turned away and removed his shirt, pulling the undersuit over his arms. As he did, the overhead light revealed the tattoo across his back. A geometric star, 8 sharp points, stylized wings stretching across his shoulder blades, beneath it faded numbers and letters. Salith inhaled sharply. Jonah did not hear it. He adjusted the suit, sealing the neural interface along his spine. When he turned back, Salith was staring at him. Not as a ruler. As someone who had just seen something impossible. My lady, Jonah asked. Her golden eyes trembled slightly. That mark, she said quietly, where did you get it? Jonah reached back instinctively, touching the covered tattoo. Unit symbol, he said, old campaign. Her hands tightened against the desk. Which campaign? Jonah frowned. Extraction mission, border world, years ago. The room felt suddenly very small. Salith swallowed. I have searched for that symbol, she said, for 7 years. Jonah felt a chill crawl up his spine. My lady, he said slowly, what exactly do you think you're looking at? She met his eyes. The humans who came anyway. The countdown on Jonah's HUD ticked lower. 20 minutes remaining. And the past had just walked back into the room. The room was silent, except for the low hum of Iron Reach Station. Sergeant Jonah Hale stood frozen, his hands resting on the edge of his bunk. The High Matriarch Salith remained near the desk, her golden eyes locked on him as if looking away might cause something important to vanish. The humans who came anyway, she repeated softly. Jonah exhaled slowly. My lady, he said, choosing his words with care, I don't understand. Salith straightened, but the movement was not regal. It was careful, like someone holding themselves together through effort alone. 7 years ago, she said, a Velari frontier settlement on Latis Prime was destroyed. Jonah's jaw tightened. I remember the call, he said. Command didn't give us names, just numbers, civilians trapped, time-sensitive. Her eyes flickered. You were told nothing else. No, Jonah replied. We didn't need to know more. Salith closed her eyes briefly. That settlement was called Keth Varun, she said. It housed miners, engineers, families. It was not a military target. Jonah nodded once. It never is. She looked at him sharply, then continued. I was there, Salith said. Jonah felt the words hit him like a physical force. You, he asked quietly. Yes, she replied. Not as High Matriarch, not as a symbol. I traveled without guards, without banners. I wanted to see how our outer worlds truly lived. Jonah swallowed. We didn't know, he said. We would have. You would have done exactly the same, Salith interrupted gently. That is the point. She stepped closer. The attack came without warning. Communications failed. Power collapsed. Fire spread faster than emergency systems could respond. Jonah's gaze drifted, memories rising unbidden. Smoke everywhere, he said, so thick our optics barely worked. Salith's breath caught. You came through the underground, she whispered. Jonah looked at her sharply. Yes, he said, service tunnels, structural maps were outdated. She pressed one hand to her chest. I remember hearing explosions below us, she said, thinking it was the end. Jonah closed his eyes. We lost 2 engineers clearing that path, he said. Collapsed ceiling, no time to dig them out. Salith did not look away. Your people reached the medical center, she said. Jonah nodded. Civilians were packed inside, he said. Scared, injured, some didn't even understand us. Salith's voice shook. I was among them. Jonah met her eyes again. You fought me, he said slowly. I tried to pull you out. Her lips trembled. I was trying to go back, she admitted. My aides were still inside. Jonah looked down. They didn't make it, he said quietly. I know, she replied. I knew the moment I was dragged into the light. The memory played behind Jonah's eyes like an old recording. We had 20 minutes, he said. Enemy artillery was already zeroing in. Salith nodded. You carried a child, she said. Jonah frowned. I carried a lot of people. A child with a broken leg, she said. You used your own brace to stabilize it. Jonah stared at her. I don't remember that, he said. You would not, she replied. It was normal to you. Jonah's voice roughened. We don't leave people behind. Salith let out a shaky breath. The evacuation shuttles were overloaded, she said. One more launch would have collapsed the platform. Jonah nodded slowly. Our commander stayed, he said. So did 3 volunteers. Your lieutenant, Salith said. And 2 engineers, Jonah added. We sealed the blast doors manually. Salith's eyes shone. They held the structure together, she said, long enough. Jonah looked away. They knew they wouldn't make it. Salith stepped closer, close enough that Jonah could see faint scars along her hands. When the last shuttle lifted, she said, I looked back through the smoke. Jonah swallowed. I saw your symbol, she continued, painted on armor carved into metal, a star with wings. Jonah nodded once. That was us. I had artists recreate it from memory, Salith said. I memorized every line. She reached out, stopping just short of touching his shoulder. I searched for you, she said. I searched for all of you. Jonah shook his head slightly. Most of Delta engineering is gone, he said. War took them later. I know, Salith replied. I know every name. Jonah looked at her in surprise. I attended human memorials, she said, quietly, without ceremony. Jonah sat down heavily on the bunk. You were there, he murmured. Yes, she said, because your people saved mine without asking who we were. Silence stretched between them. Jonah checked the countdown on his HUD. 10 minutes. My lady, he said, why tell me this now? Salith smiled sadly. Because I walked into this room by accident, she said, because the universe finally stopped hiding you. Jonah let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Figures, he said. Salith studied him. You joke, she said, after everything. Jonah shrugged. If we don't joke, he said, we drown. She nodded slowly. You are still deploying, she said. Yes, Jonah replied, orders stand. She straightened, something firm returning to her posture. Then I will not keep you longer, she said. Jonah rose and reached for his armor. As he snapped the chest plate into place, Salith spoke again. When the Velari Council debated peace, she said, many opposed it. Jonah listened. I spoke of humans who entered fire for strangers, she said, of soldiers who died nameless to save lives that were not their own. Jonah sealed his gauntlets. They listened, she said, not because I am matriarch. He lifted his helmet. But because your people proved something, she finished. Jonah paused. What's that? He asked. That humanity does not measure worth by species, Salith said, only by need. Jonah placed the helmet under his arm. The station alarm chimed softly. 5 minutes. I don't know what to say, Jonah admitted. Salith smiled gently. Then say nothing, she said, just come back. Jonah met her gaze. I'll try, he said. She stepped back toward the door, then stopped. One more thing, she said. Jonah waited. The Velari fleet patrols this sector, she said. Your deployment path passes near our jurisdiction. Jonah raised an eyebrow. And they will be watching, she said, closely. The door slid open. Salith paused in the doorway. Humans came anyway, she said softly. So now so will we. She was gone. Jonah stood alone for a moment, then moved. He ran. The drop zone was chaos. Enemy forces had already breached the perimeter by the time Jonah's unit landed. Explosions rocked the ground. Shields flickered. Engineers were never supposed to be first in. But today they were. Jonah moved without thinking, charges placed, barriers raised, wounded pulled to safety. Then the sky lit up. Velari warships tore through orbit, their weapons precise and overwhelming. Enemy fire faltered. Human and Velari forces advanced together. Side by side. The battle ended within the hour. Later, as Jonah sat on a crate, helmet off, breathing hard, his comm pinged. A simple message. You are not alone. Jonah smiled. Months later, a memorial station was dedicated above Lati's Prime. It bore no names. Only a symbol. A star. With wings. And beneath it, words in both languages. They came anyway. Jonah stood among humans and Velari alike, watching the lights drift in silence. For the first time in a long while, the galaxy felt a little less cold. The end.